SBF has broken his silence on this whole FTX collapse thing with a few tweets and a Twitter thread that doesn't really make sense. But if you dig more deep into it, he might have a reason for spacing out all these tweets and making these cryptic messages. We can see this is his Twitter thread right here. The first message saying what? And then a long string of messages here spelling out HAPPENED, obviously saying what happened. And you might think that's a little weird to have all of these tweets out here with one letter, spacing them out over a longer period of time. And you would be pretty much right, because it looks like what he was doing was actually taking his Twitter account and using these tweets to try and make other bots that are tracing deleted tweets when people delete stuff. And he was tweeting this message and deleting one at the same time, so it would look like he wasn't deleting anything. You can see here it didn't really work. You can see he has negative tweets here for a few days here. He even has following, so he's unfollowing people too. So maybe something bigger is coming in. He doesn't want to indict anyone that he knows or anyone that he was following, or I don't know what he's really thinking, because even in this Twitter world, the internet's forever. And even if you delete this tweet, the tweet can still live on in anyone screenshotting it, or it could even live on in Twitter's servers that's going to keep it for a month or many months that they're going to have this file. So you can't just really delete tweets and think, oh, it's gone forever now. But going back to his Twitter thread, you can see he says, not legal advice, not financial advice. This is all as I remember it, but my memory might be faulty in parts. I wonder why it would be faulty. Goes on to say, I'll get to what happened, but for now, let's talk about where we are today. So what are we jumping around for? Why aren't we getting to what happened right now? Because people are worried about what happened right now. They want their money right now. They don't want to hear your story about how we got here. They want to hear the story about how they're going to get their money back. Goes on to say, to the best of my knowledge, as of post 11/7, with the potential for errors, Alameda had more assets than liabilities, but not liquid. Alameda had margin position on FTX International, and FTX US had enough to repay all customers. Not everyone necessarily agrees with this, which this would be kind of weird, because he did tweet out that he filed FTX US along with the other groups for bankruptcy. So it wasn't like FTX US is this outlier that's operating normally. You put them in bankruptcy too. And to say Alameda had more assets than liabilities, but just not liquid, is to think that everyone involved in this is just a absolute idiot who doesn't have any common sense to be able to think for themselves. Yeah, Alameda might have had these assets on their books, but it was an FTT token, which FTX owned, which there was no market for, so they couldn't sell it. That's why when CZ tweeted out saying that he was going to dump the price, your CEO panicked, said, we'll buy it from you at this price, because they knew if the market fell, all of their assets would become worthless. That's just like an outright lie. You can't say we had the money, but you collapsed. Clearly, you didn't have the money. Then he says, my one goal is to do right by customers. I'm contributing what I can to doing so. I'm meeting in person with regulators and working with the teams to do what we can for customers. And after that, investors. But first, customers. So it's got all those feel-good words in there too. We're going to protect the customers and we're going to get them right first, even though he's the one who gambled with all of your money, lost it, put it into Alameda where they lost it, put it into a token that he owned that he couldn't sell, and then lost all of your money. And now he's saying that, well, we're going to try and make it right. And then he ends up by saying, my goal, clean up and focus on transparency and make customers whole. So he's just running off on this whole feel good thing. We know these tweets are just to cover for other tweets that he's trying to delete, to try and act like they didn't happen. But even his tweets here, they don't make any sense, saying we're trying to make the customer whole, but it's your fault that the customer's not whole. It's no one else to blame. It's your fault. So you are the problem here. And the thing trying to say that you're trying to be the solution, I mean, no one can trust you. Nobody wants to trust you, and you shouldn't be trusted. You should be in jail. We can see right here, this is what he was most likely trying to do, talking about these bots here, talking about why is SBF deleting tweets and tweeting to offset his total tweet count. And then you can see maybe deleted tweets, bots detection rule requires count to be negative for 1 minute or something in order to trigger. So we know that that's probably what he's doing to try and make it look like he's not deleting tweets, when in actuality he is, and it didn't even work for him. He still got caught. And you can see even in this, okay, so it's actually worked. That's what he's doing. And you can see some of the deleted tweets that he wasn't able to really cover up. One here saying it's heavily regulated. Even when that slows us down, we have a gap audits with greater than $1 billion in excess cash. We have a long history of safeguarding client assets, and that remains true today. So I wonder why he would delete that one. It's almost like he was lying a little bit there. And then also tweeting out saying, I love it, CZ Binance. If we could work together for the ecosystem. That one might be just like a spiteful delete because obviously CZ is the one who pushed this FTT token into the dirt and collapsed FTX and Alameda, so maybe he's just a little salty about that. And to wrap it up even more, FTX official account put out a fake statement about regulators saying they had to move funds because of the regulators, but they really didn't. They put out a statement saying, per our Bahamian HQ's regulation and regulators, we have begun to facilitate withdrawals of Bahamian funds. As such, you may have seen some withdrawals processed by FTX recently as we complied with the regulators. So that was trying to be a cover-up for why they were withdrawing funds, basically stealing whatever the leftover money was, trying to take what was left over and run away with it, probably. But it didn't really work out because the Bahamian regulators came out with a statement basically saying FTX was lying. They came out saying the Securities Commissions of the Bahamas notes the statements made by representatives of FTX, which advised per Bahamian HQ regulation regulators, we have begun to facilitate the withdrawals of Bahamian funds. Basically, their whole quote. They said the commission wishes to advise that it has not directed, authorized, or suggested to FTX digital markets the prioritization of withdrawals for Bahamian clients. So they basically came out and said FTX is lying and we never told them to do that. And this makes FTX look even worse. They ended up deleting that tweet too. And they actually look terrible. It looks like they were trying till the very end to live up to being a criminal and steal the remaining money that was on whatever wallets FTX had access to. While I was editing this video, SBF actually tweeted again, saying a few weeks ago FTX was handling about $10 billion per day of volume and billions transfers, but there was too much leverage, more than I realized, a run on the bank, and a market crash exhausted liquidity. So what can I try to do? Raise liquidity, make customers whole, and restart. Which is funny because he's basically like saying he's going to try and run a Ponzi to get the people who are lost their money to the Ponzi their money back. But he's literally saying he wants to run the Ponzi, keep running it. And he ends up saying, maybe I'll fail. Maybe I won't get anything more for customers than what's already there. I've certainly failed before. You all know that now all too well. But all I can do is to try. I've failed enough for the month, and part of me thinks I might get somewhere. So it's just kind of funny, basically admitting to wanting to run a Ponzi to bail out the Ponzi. So it's always just when you think this whole situation can't get any crazier, it always gets crazier. I'm just wondering what will happen in the future, and will SBF actually be held accountable for this? Because he absolutely should be. He should be in jail. But that's going to do it for this video. As always, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I'll see you guys in my next